It is Monday, September 7th, Labor Day. Thank your local socialist. Very nice day that people who are working should be getting off, but I know a lot of you are still working. And I don't know how many of you are on holiday or you're going to be tuning in, but today is going to be fun. This is going to be a conversation, so I really want to get your comments, your questions. I'm going to be talking about an experience that I had as a member of a sacred council and a mentor in a group by Dr. Frantonia called The Evil Behind Your Love and Lights. Ooh, that title. Some of you were in it. Some of you were part of the 300 plus member cohort that decided to sign up and participate and have these really deep, hard conversations about spiritual wellness and the industry and cultural appropriation and abuse of power and racism within the health and wellness industry. It was a lot. It was a lot to cover in 9 weeks. It was originally, I think, intended to be 4 weeks, and it was just impossible to contain it in 4 weeks. It's impossible to have a container of 9 weeks and get it all done, but we got a good start. Really quick, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Rebekah Borucki. I am a mother of 5. I'm a meditation guide, and I am an author of books for big and little readers, also an indie publisher and the founder of a nonprofit called the Wheat Penny Press Little Readers Big Change Initiative. I would love to ask for your support. I don't have my books with me, but I'd love to ask for your support. In the video description and also in my BEXLIFE bio link, you're going to find ways to give me a tip. It's buy me a coffee. All of those proceeds go to the Wheat Penny Press Little Readers Big Change Initiative, 100% of the proceeds. And what we do is get free books and mental health resources and assemblies and all kinds of great stuff directly to kids in school districts that are very much in need of attention, very much in need of attention. So I'm talking about Title I schools. I'm talking about schools in areas like Baltimore City that are getting 0 to no funding for the arts and especially no funding for mental health resources. So that would be a really, really, really awesome thing if you, as a thank you for these live broadcasts and the content I put out every single day, go and buy me a coffee. The money goes right into the account of the Wheat Penny Press Little Readers Big Change Initiative, and you will do good with that. And there's also ways to work with me and buy my books at a discount and access my materials for free and all that good stuff. All right. The evil behind your love and light. I'm going to talk about my experience today. I'm still in a state of processing everything that happened there. There was so much that happened for the participants. There was so much that happened for the mentors. I know that I gained a lot of insight, I gained a lot of education, and I came out a better person because of my experience there. There was a lot that happened that wasn't so great, that was harmful, that was violent, and it happened out in the open. And there was a lot of violence that happened behind the scenes. And that is what I'm still processing. I'm still figuring out like what it means for me as a teacher, what it means for me as a wellness practitioner, as a healer. And that's not what I'm going to comment so much on today. Today, I want to talk about my takeaways in the group, what it meant for me. And hopefully Dr. Frantonia sees this and gets a little nudge to maybe do this again. Not in the same way, because that was a rough ride that we took. But I think that it was an incredible program that if you didn't have the opportunity to experience, you missed out. So definitely follow Dr. Frantonia and watch for all of her offerings, but especially if she decides to offer something in the line of leadership and wellness and, really dismantling white supremacy and the way that it has infiltrated this industry that is supposed to be about healing. Because that's the hard part. It's supposed to be about healing. People come to heal. And this is why I think that white supremacy and this evil that has come into this industry in particular is so particularly harmful, because this is a place that people come to heal. This is an industry that is drawing the most traumatized, the most broken among us, and then they're being met with racism. They're being met with a hierarchy of guruship and elitism that doesn't give them access to the healing tools that they deserve to have access to. They're just being shut out for so many reasons. And I know this to be true because this was my experience in the industry. This was my experience, even as a very, 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 very light-skinned, sometimes white passing, but always racially ambiguous, biracial Black woman. That was always my experience. Because, you know, people either know what you are or suspect what you are. And if you are other, if you are different, in this highly commodified and exclusive spiritual wellness world, then you are going to be, you're going to be shut out in one way or another. Okay, so I have a question from Katarina. Please talk about what you've learned about abuse of power. I will. I'm definitely going to get into that. Hello, Dr. Frantonia. Thank you for joining. And yes, Kay, the art sob. I love Dr. Frantonia too. So when I came into this, and this is a lesson that I'm going to carry over into all the areas of my life. Dr. Frantonia, guided me, instructed me to manage my expectations. What does that mean? What it means for me, I am a person who cares very deeply, works very hard, but also has a habit of attaching my self-worth to how people not see me initially, but after they've interacted with me, especially my clients, my students, I attach my self-worth to their outcome, what they've learned, how they've grown. And entering into a group of over 300 women, few men, mostly white, that are coming in to learn how to dismantle their own inner oppression, the way that they cause harm within the communities. A lot of these people were healers, coaches, whatever. They're coming in to do that work because they need to do that work. And for me to attach my self-worth to them getting it and changing was highly problematic. And it was a guarantee that I was going to create an atmosphere where I'm doing harm to myself. Doing harm to myself in the way that saying like, well, I'm not a good teacher, or I didn't do it right, or I didn't show up the way that I was supposed to because they didn't get it. So Dr. Frantonia warned me. And I was like, yeah, I got it. We're cool. I went into the group and I did just that. And what happened there isn't as important as what my reaction was to what happened there for the purposes of talking to you today. Because I was in there like doing the work and feeling very desperate because of what's going on in the world, feeling like things have to change. And then also taking that old habit with me of saying, this is my responsibility. I have to make this work. So I overextended myself. I sacrificed my energy beyond what was available. I sacrificed my time sometimes beyond what was available. I don't regret it because I came out learning so much, feeling a deeper connection to my ancestral religions and practices and rituals. Like, I'm so grateful for the time I spent there. But the time that I spent there in service to making people change when I had no power to do that was time I spent in self-harm. That's the only part of it that I regret. And what I'm challenging you to do today, or asking you to do today, no, challenging, is ask yourself where you are attaching your worthiness, or what you're attaching your worthiness to that is out of your control. Next step is understanding that you're inherently worthy. That's a couple steps away. That's a couple steps away. That's what I'm working on right now. But where are you placing your value that is completely out of your control, so that you are not a victim, but you are being controlled by the ebb and flow, the fluctuations of something that you can't manage. So I thought my ego was speaking. My ego was getting real big. And not ego like, I'm so great, I'm so great. Just the part of me that is not attached, is not in alignment with my higher self. My ego is saying, I can change these people if I really try. I could really make these women get it. And then when they didn't get it the way that I wanted them to, that's important, I'm going to go back to that. When they didn't get it the way I wanted them to, I started to fall apart. I started to become unraveled. Because their change was controlling my sense of worthiness, of self-worth. So where might you be doing that? Side orderly. That's a cute name. Side orderly says, you're encouraging and inviting people to explore versus challenging. Yeah, I mean, I want you to do it. So the challenge part comes in is, you might not want to look at this. It might be hard to look at this. It might be uncomfortable. So I'm challenging you to get over that and then explore. So you see that, because this is hard. I mean, I even feel right now as I'm speaking, I can feel this little grip in my chest, because that's my reaction to stress, because I'm going back to that feeling of them not getting it, and I'm experiencing again. But here's the thing about them not getting it, and this was another lesson that I learned. Just because things don't look the way I wanted them to doesn't mean that things aren't perfect, that things aren't going exactly how they should. Just because it doesn't look like my plan or my idea of what it should look like, and this shows up in so many different areas of my life, or it might show up for you too. You have this plan for your business, or you have this plan for your relationship, and it takes a turn, and something else happens, and that something else that happened was really great. It's so good to not be in resistance to that other great thing happening, because you were so focused and bent on your way happening. There's so many, especially in my career, I'll say I've had so many magical moments in my career that I didn't plan for, that because of my limited imagination, or my limited ability to really see big things for myself, they happened, but I wasn't able to see them. And I'm so grateful that I was able to have those opportunities in spite of me not being able to accept them fully, because I was in resistance, because I had this other idea of the way things should be. So when, again, some men, mostly women were the ones I interacted with in the group, when they weren't getting it the way that I wanted them to get it, I thought I had failed. I thought that it didn't work. But the truth of the matter was that so many of them, if not all of them really, even the women who acted violent and did some, not nice stuff at the end, even them, I'm going to say that there was progress, because at least they participated in something that they hadn't participated in before. At least they were challenged in ways that they hadn't been challenged before. That they had to have a conversation that was uncomfortable for them, that made them angry, that moved them in some way. I'll say that even the ones who at the end were just like, oh, I am ready for that person to not be in my life anymore, I know that there was progress. And that's another thing that I learned. Just because it's not the way I wanted it to be, doesn't mean it's not right. It's not perfect in its own way. And I think the biggest lesson that I learned especially in managing my expectations. And this is something that I went back and forth with Dr. Frantonio on, because I'm like, I expect people to be decent. I expect people to be kind. I expect people to not be violent. I expect people to get something when I've said it 20 times. I was so angry, like week after week after week of these calls. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you seriously asking the same goddamn question that we've gone over 100 times? When are you going to get it? When are you going to pay attention? But here's the thing. That only hurts me. It doesn't hurt them. It only hurts me to expect so much from something I cannot control, from someone I can't control. So here's the deal. I got to drop or manage those expectations, but really like just drop them. If you are just out there in the world, coming to me as a student, coming to me as someone who's following me on my platform, I have no control over how you receive things. I can't demand that you be decent, that you be kind, that you be, whatever. But the caveat to that is, if I'm welcoming you into my circle, if you're going to be a friend, if you're going to be a lover, if you're going to be a colleague of mine or a partner of mine in business, a collaborator, there are things that I expect from you to be allowed in that space. So I don't attach my worthiness to other people changing, and I'm going to manage my expectations around people that are just like, that I can just be like, bless and release. But if you're going to be in my circle, if I'm going to extend vulnerability to you, my whole self to you, parts of myself that other people don't get to see, if I'm going to be in partnership with you in any way, then I'm going to have some standards. I have standards for people in my life, and I am going to expect you to show up in kindness, respect, reciprocity. That is when I expect things from you. And then again, I can't manage it. I can't change you. And if you don't show up that way, then you got to step. We have a conversation, but then you got to step. So that was it. I think that was probably for me, the biggest lesson is that I'm allowed to have standards for people in my life. And I'll tell you, out of these 300 and some odd women that were in this group, I don't know if 5 of them would meet those standards right now. I don't know if 5 of them would meet those standards, but that's okay. My circle is small, and that's okay. It's better that way. And for everyone else, I can feel good knowing that I showed up the way that I was supposed to. I showed up how I agreed to show up. I gave it my best. I gave it my all, and that is good enough. And it's actually more than enough. It was more than enough. More than enough. They got a lot from me, from the other Sacred Council members. But again, I want to invite you to challenge yourself, to explore. Thank you for side orderly. I want to challenge you to explore what kind of standards you have created, are creating, or are communicating to the people in your life. And if you are letting yourself be moved in those standards, if you're not holding strong boundaries, if you're not calling on the people in your circle to show up a certain way for you, to protect yourself, and also to enrich the relationship. It's not just about, setting boundaries is an act of self-love. And it's also an act of love towards the other person. It's also an act of love in relationship. Because you're also teaching the other person how you want to be loved, how you want to be talked to, but also about what they can expect from you. And it allows them to feel more comfortable, to have guidelines on how to relate to you. So boundaries are so important. And so I say boundaries, and under that falls standards of how I want you to show up, and expectations of how I want you to behave. And when they are not met, then again, we have a conversation and maybe we have to part. But if it's out of my control, I cannot attach my worthiness to it. That's where Dr. Frantonia's wisdom in this group, especially for me, helped me to grow so much, because I was able to look at where I was not managing my expectations, where I was attaching to myself to things that weren't in my control, that had nothing to do with me, and that was creating a situation for self-harm, for me to be insulting myself and my good work. That sucked. But I learned it. It was a hard ass lesson, and I'm still learning it. I'm still catching myself, right? Like, this just happened. This has just been the past couple months that I've been working on this, and I'm still catching myself. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not mine. That's not mine. That has little to nothing to do with me. That's not mine. So I can't attach my worthiness for being here, my worthiness as a teacher, my worthiness as a woman, my worthiness as a mother, even as a mother when my kids don't behave the way that I've taught them to. I'm like, all right, they have choices too. They have choices that they make too. And that doesn't really have anything to do with me. Whew. So again, this was an extraordinary experience. For those of you who were able to be in the evil behind your love and light, consider yourself very lucky. Keep doing the work. For those of you who didn't, Dr. Frantonia is tagged in this broadcast and in the video description. Follow her and really, 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 really take advantage of the offerings that she has. All of it is about personal transformation. Whether you're learning about white supremacy or anti-racism, which is not what she teaches, but it becomes a part of the work when you're talking about navigating these spaces, navigating business, navigating wellness. That all comes into that. But when you're doing this work, it's really about transforming yourself so that you can go out and show up in the world and like really transform the world. It's inevitable. If you change, it's impossible that your environment doesn't change, that the people around you don't start responding to it, either by being attracted to you because they want that good energy too, or being repelled by the energy because they realize that they don't want to change, or they don't want to be better. They don't want to do better. So, also in my video descriptions, there's ways to support my nonprofit. There's ways to support me as a creator, my books, my work with kids. I'm so appreciative of the people who sponsor classrooms. I really, I want you to keep doing that. Not just when you see Black and brown people being killed on TV, on the internet, but every single day. Make it your practice to show up for the least among us. And what I mean by that are the people that are receiving the least love, the least resources among us. So show up by supporting the people and the organizations that I support. As big as you can. I'm about to take a week of rest. I'm going to be in my private community, which you can find linked in my video description, the Blissed Community. It's really awesome. So I'm only going to be posting here live once a week. I might pop in every now and again, but I'm only going to be posting here live once a week because I'm going to be concentrating my efforts on that private community. And it's free and it's amazing. So please get over there and join. All the links, again, in the video description. Thank you so much for showing up for me. It inspires and compels me to show up for you. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, I say 3 times to affirm its truth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so grateful for you. And for the same reason, I say 3 times, I love you, I love you, I love you. That is my truth. I love you. I love you so much. You could be watching anybody, you could be listening to anybody. But I appreciate that you see the truth in my message and the sincerity in my work. And I'm grateful for it.